Seasoner
and Co.
Welcome to
Second-Hand Haunting,
where we read ghost stories from a second-hand book from a second-hand shop and try to make some sense of them.
Fun of them.
Sense.
Fun.
Sense.
Fun.
Sense.
Fun.
Sense.
Fun.
Ollie. Sense.
I've just realised that you win all of those.
Hey, Ollie.
Hey, Callum.
I've still got the True Irish Ghost Stories book. Would you like to hear some more from it this week?
Let's get cracking on some ghost stories, I say.
Excellent. Now, we've done the longest section from the haunted houses in Dublin, but I think we can do some shorter ones still, and they're still going to be some good fun. These stories were all submitted by the general public of Ireland to John Seymour and Harry Neligan back in 1914 or something, and it was all collated in 1926 in his second edition of True Irish Ghost Stories. Again, these stories do not have titles. They are barely separated in the book, so I've done my best. But we must now turn to the subject of this chapter. Mrs. G. Kelly, a lady well known in musical circles in Dublin.
What's up, G?
Oh, Christ. Original ghoster?
Boom.
No, not boom. Don't pay that.
I mean, it wasn't great. I was just trying to be supportive.
She sends her own personal experience of the following tale of a most quiet haunting, in which the spectral charwoman does not seem to have entirely laid aside all her mundane habits. Now, I did look up what a charwoman is.
Cool.
It is basically Irish around the turn of the century for a cleaning woman. So it's a cleaner, a maid, I guess.
It has a general charishness about them.
Is that a thing? Charishness?
I mean, I just made it up, so I'm
okay.
guessing. So if it is...
Now, much of the rest of this story is, I believe, a direct quote from Mrs. G. Kelly. I'm not going to do her voice, because I don't think that's fair. On my throat.
Right. I figured her voice would be like, yo, 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 what up? Mrs. G. Kelly coming at you.
No. Why did she have to be a musician? Why?
You mean a rapper, right?
Sure. My first encounter with a ghost occurred about 20 years ago. On that occasion, I was standing in the kitchen of my house in Blank Square. Again, some of the specifics of these stories have been filed away, even if they've just said this famous person's name.
From the darkest corners of
Blank Square. When a woman, whom I was afterwards to see many times, walked down the stairs into the room. Having heard the footsteps outside, I was not in the least perturbed, but turned to look who it was, and found myself looking at a tall, stout, elderly woman wearing a bonnet and an old-fashioned mantle. I assume that doesn't mean like a fireplace mantle. I assume that's some kind of stole across her shoulders, a mantle.
You got me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could Google it if you want.
Nah, it's fine. We got to expect some language drift.
I guess it's funny having Google at your fingertips all the time. Like, is there no mystery left in the world?
I mean, for sure. As I was going through this whole chapter, because I spent about an hour going through and just finding like real obvious stuff that was like, I have no idea what that's referring to, and quickly Googling it. And it didn't always give results. It was a real eye-opener in terms of like, oh, Google doesn't know everything.
Did you try ChatGPT? That's your ChatGPT knows.
You mean ChatG Kelly?
Boom. That's a bit more of a boom. The funny thing about having Google now is because I'm from a generation that grew up with the...
encyclopedias.
Yeah, well, books. Yeah, books and the outdoors. And when you were outdoors, you didn't actually have any sort of digital devices and had no means to get said information.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to go from a generation that grew up without digital devices to being in a part of a generation that has digital devices.
Which do you prefer?
Well, look, all I can say is it's hard to even imagine now not having the technology that I have today.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting to even think about what it was like to not have that information at your fingertips.
You wouldn't know the answer to something. You just go, fuck it, I guess it was a ghost.
Well, look, being the massive nerd that I am, I love having information. So the idea of being able to like look something up, and honestly, I think out of a lot of people that I know, I'm not like a huge like social media user. I'm not like a huge phone user in general. I'll happily leave my phone on the other side of the house and go off and do something without it. Like, you know, it's not the end of the world for me.
It doesn't need to be attached to you.
No. And sometimes I find like getting away from my devices to be quite freeing as well.
I highly recommend it.
But yeah, I genuinely think that I do prefer it now. And I think it's really funny to even conceive of a life without it and what it would have been like before, even though I was a part of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it has become that ingrained in culture.
So mantle as a clothing item, huh?
Yep.
We may never know.
Very nice. She had grey hair and a benign and amiable expression. We stood gazing at each other while one could count 20. Okay, that's some flowery language for they looked at each other for 20 seconds, right?
I can count faster than seconds.
Oh, okay. If we look at each other, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, just saying.
Sure, yeah.
One can count to 20. I don't know why I went into an accent then.
No, you did a little Dracula there.
1.
Oh, no.
2.
It's the count. At first, I was not at all frightened. But gradually, as I stood looking at her, an uncomfortable feeling, increasing to terror, came over me. This caused me to retreat further and further back, until I had my back against the wall, and then the apparition slowly faded. I was worried she was just scared of an old lady there for a minute.
I must admit, I don't think I'd be like super scared of someone evaporating. I'd be like more curious. Like, how'd you do that?
What's going on? This feeling of terror, due perhaps to the unexpectedness of her appearance, always overcame me on the subsequent occasions on which I saw her. That's right, she sees her like a bunch of times. Repeating ghost.
When I've had the paranormal experiences that I've had, they've very much seemed real to me, but admittedly, I've never had an experience where I've seen a ghost look me dead in the face and then vanish into nothing. Like, that would be a heck of an experience.
Yeah, it's just been like a sound in the corner. What? No one's home. Except for the cat.
Look, I will be the first person to admit that the paranormal experiences that I've had, there could be explanations for it. Like, you could try and find some ways to explain them, but they felt very paranormal to me. Yes. Whereas I feel like staring someone dead in the face and then watching them evaporate would be slightly harder to explain if it actually happened.
If that happened, you'd be like, I think I might need to go see a medical professional.
Now,
and then when it happened again, you'd think you'd be losing your mind, right?
Oh.
I would.
Or would you be gaining perspective?
Ooh.
I like that one, actually. I was quite proud of myself there.
Another t-shirt? Losing my mind or gaining perspective?
Oh, like that. One day I'm going to start this t-shirt company.
Yeah. These occasions have numbered 12 or 15, and I have seen her in every room in the house at every hour of the day during a period of about 10 years.
Just quickly, imagine if we started a t-shirt company and became more well-known for the t-shirts. So 10 years,
Second-hand hand-me-downs. Wait, that's just ob shops. Anyway. Sorry,
sounds like a business idea, actually. Anyway.
Yes, 10 years this ghost has been appearing in all the rooms in the house.
So you see her and then and gone.
And then, 9 months later, happens again. Just as you'd forgotten about it, I think.
Stary ghost.
A what?
Stary ghost? Like she just stares at...
Oh, yeah, she is. She's just staring at people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is odd, isn't it? It did say she was quiet.
Well, at least not. In the last story, we were talking about a ghost that liked to throw fish,
throw
out
fish
the window,
and tease everyone. Yeah.
So at least this ghost is a bit more easier to deal with in the sense they just kind of stare at you for a bit and then
has some decorum before removing themselves.
Maybe she was a governess.
No, she was a cleaner, remember?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I don't know where I got that one from. I do, but we don't have to go into it. So Char was the ghost, and she was the one that was staring. Did she recognize her as, like...
Not yet.
So how did she know she was a cleaner?
I don't know. There might be holes in these stories from 100 years ago.
Maybe it was just a tire, like a cleaning a tire.
Could be. Well... Was it a tall, stout, elderly woman wearing a bonnet and an old-fashioned mantle? Oh, mantle might be like a cleaning maid thing around her.
I honestly feel like I've heard the term before.
We're looking it up, aren't we?
No.
Okay.
Oh, well, maybe.
I'm just quickly Googling here. Maid mantle.
Maid mantle.
Maid mantle.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Is it?
Yeah, totally.
I'm glad you found it.
Yeah, and it's like the white thing.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain, but do you know a maid often have this white thing that covers their chest?
Yes.
Kind of like a semicircle thing.
Yep, that makes sense. All right. So, yeah, the clothing therefore does identify her as a cleaning woman.
Or I just made this up.
You've made it up?
Maybe I just saw that in the photos and just thought that's what it was and didn't actually do the proper research.
I'm happy to take it and move on.
Yeah, it feels like a good idea.
The last time she appeared was 10 years ago. My husband and I had been returning from a concert at which he had been singing, and we sat for some time over supper talking about the events of the evening. That's actually pretty sweet. She's going out to see her husband's singing concert. I wonder what they're singing back then.
Joy to the world.
The maid is dead.
Boom.
And now I see her ghost. She doesn't say anything. She just stares and disappears.
And in 10 years I see her again.
Oh God, I am sick of this damn ghost.
I don't know. I was actually trying to do this noise of the cymbals. Anyway. Yes, I feel like it would be very much like that. I think that would be the vibe that they would be going for, you know.
I hope so. No, it's that exact song. Copyright.
When she said that they were going to a concert, my first thought was like a rock concert, which was obviously silly because they didn't even have rock and roll at that time.
No, not at all. Maybe blues. Blues might have existed. Oh, maybe.
No, I don't think so.
Not yet. Nah.
When was blues invented?
Certainly not in Ireland, although I'm sure if anyone wants to correct us on that, hit us up at secondhandhaunt@gmail.com. That's 2ndhandhandhaunt.
Blues was invented in the 1860s.
Dang, in America though, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if it would have made it back to Ireland by then, but who knows? This is way beside the point, and we're speculating wildly.
I mean, strap yourselves in, for listeners, because that's the type of show we are.
That's the type of stories we're reading. Because when at last I rose to leave the room and opened the dining room door, I found my old lady standing on the mat outside with her head bent towards the door in the attitude of listening. So she's a little eavesdropping ghost. Is it just the maid again? Is this just a person that you're choosing to ignore?
So Callum finds a book that essentially uncovers that people have been referring to people that they want to believe don't exist as actual ghosts. That they're
this whole time.
So relatives or
embarrassing relatives and the help. Yeah.
So far out of this book, we've only had, I'm guessing, people that could afford such things then.
Yeah, well, they have to afford a pen and some paper and an envelope to write in to John Seymour's request for ghost stories. And they have to have a bunch of idle time to make up a bunch of garbage to write in.
Sad but true, on all accounts.
I called out loudly, and my husband rushed to my side. That was the last time I have seen her. Wait, why would a ghost need to eavesdrop? They're ghosts. You can just disappear and hang around in the room, can't they?
Mm.
Yep, you know what? That's the perfect response.
I don't know. Maybe? Sure. Okay. like, I'm happy to give it to you if that's...
One peculiarity of this spectral visitant was a strong objection to disorder or untidiness of any kind, or even to the alteration in the general routine of their house.
So like ADHD ghost?
Yeah.
No, that's not right, is it? It's something. It's definitely something.
Just an anal cleaner, I guess.
Anal cleaner ghost.
Not an, you know what I mean.
No, I mean, they don't clean anuses, obviously. No, I mean, they're an anal cleaner ghost.
In other words, a cleaner.
Well, I don't think it was part of the service anyway.
No, God, no.
Fucking hell.
For instance, she showed her disapproval of any stranger coming to sleep by turning the chairs face downwards on the floor in the room they were to occupy. That is some, like, child behaviour of lashing out, isn't it? You don't expect that from an old person.
You would expect it from me, though, as a ghost. I'd be right on top of that. I tell a lie. I think one of the first things that I would do as a ghost...
Throw a fish.
After I throw a fish, I would subtly start rearranging people's furniture in the house while they're away.
Well, I wonder if she has been subtly rearranging them, but the first anyone notices is when she's getting more and more overt to the point where chairs are upside down.
But I try and do it in such a way that I'd just subtly make them think that they're losing their mind. Like I'd swap 2 different coloured chairs around or something.
Okay, yes, yeah.
And just when they're getting to that point where they're just like, what is happening? I would appear to them and then disappear.
Yeah. Remember, you have a ghost.
And then off.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We do have a ghost.
On to the next house.
I well remember one of our guests, having gone to his room one evening for something he had forgotten, remarking on coming downstairs again, "Well, you people have an extraordinary manner of arranging your furniture. I have nearly broken my bones over one of the bedroom chairs, which was turned down on the floor."
Could they just want the guest to go?
Yeah, it could be that again.
They're like, yeah, the ghost.
Yep.
Yeah. How long are you staying for?
Yeah. This was meant to be like a dinner date, and you've brought pajamas? No. Mr. Kelly, go and flip some chairs upstairs with me.
Go on now. Get it done.
Yeah. I'll distract them for a minute.
Oh, that's right. We have a ghost. You will have to stay in the spare bedroom at your own peril.
Yeah. As my husband and I had restored that chair twice already to its proper position during the day, we were not much surprised at his remarks, although we did not enlighten him.
Oh, so they didn't tell him about the ghost.
No, they're just letting him believe that they're maniacs with chairs rather than being haunted. Actually, yeah, lesser of two evils, I guess.
Yeah, well, it would get awkward after a while, you know, like, so
if it's the same guest over and over again, yeah.
No, I mean, well, yeah, exactly. And like, you know, they've stayed over a couple of times, and then you didn't want to tell them straight away because you didn't want to sound crazy, and then it happened a couple more times. Like they come over every now and again, and then you're like,
do we tell them now?
Yeah, like
it's awkward now.
Yeah, it's like it's been too long, right? Like
it's like when you don't know your new coworker's name and it gets too long to ask.
I'd never do that. I'd never ask them. I'd become some sort of name sleuth. At the very least, I'd probably just ask somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Or just look at like their team's handle or whatever.
Do you ever do that thing when you see someone that you know, but you can't remember their name for the life of you, but you've got like someone with you, like your partner or a friend, and you casually say to them like, "Hey, can you just like introduce yourself?" And like just say your name, and if they don't say their name, just ask them their name.
Yeah.
Make sure they say it out loud.
Can you help us both out here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there.
Hey, bud.
The whole family have been disturbed by a peculiar knocking, which occurred in various rooms in the house, frequently on the door or the wall, but sometimes on the furniture, quite close to where we had been sitting. What business has a maid got knocking?
Ooh.
Is it like really
like
violent dusting?
That sounds like a puzzle. Sorry, what was it again? Like, what's a maid got knocking, did you say?
Why is the maid knocking?
Knocking?
Yeah, she's knocking on walls, knocking on doors, knocking on furniture. That's not a maid thing, is it?
Looking for a rivet? What do you look for?
Oh, looking for a stud to
stud?
hang a painting.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a baffling one.
Just an old habit.
Yeah.
Looking for studs.
She just has to knock things. This was evidently loud enough to be heard in the next house, for our next-door neighbour once asked my husband why he selected such curious hours for hanging his pictures. She is looking for studs.
I told you.
Another strange and fairly frequent occurrence was the following.
I just need to stop you there real quick. It's OCD, not ADHD. It's OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder.
Yeah, we probably should have known that.
That's the one. I'm pretty sure I have ADHD. I've never been tested. I've talked to friends about this before. It seems like a hell of a process to go through to actually get tested for something like that.
And if it doesn't affect you one way or the other.
Yeah, it's true. Well, I'm pretty sure it does. But still, I've often thought of it as like a benefit for me, though. You know, I think that the ADHD tendencies that I show actually make me better at my job.
Great at multitasking.
Yeah, that type of stuff. I mean, obviously, I have to have a real tough time focusing. But in my job...
I'm sure the listeners would never have guessed.
But that... Buddy.
I'm sorry. That was a little harsh.
No, that's fine. It's on point, really. But it's funny, like, I actually do find that genuinely beneficial in my jobs. I'm often looking around and researching different things and finding new techniques for stuff and being able to, like, context switch a lot. In fact, I've got another friend that identifies the same way and often refers to it as a superpower.
But, if you're self-aware and you can use it to your benefit, yeah.
I think, honestly, for me, when I identify these traits as a disadvantage, it felt like they were. And when I identified them as an advantage, it felt like they were, you know? Like it's steering into the curve.
Yeah.
It actually started to feel...
swing either way.
Yeah.
But...
look, I think that everyone has their own journey. And I think something like obsessive compulsive disorder can be crippling for some people, and I acknowledge that.
Yeah. So crippling that it makes you stay through your own death and keep haunting a house.
Looking for studs.
Looking for studs. Yes. Another strange and fairly frequent occurrence was the following. I had got a set of skunk furs, which I fancied had an unpleasant odour, as this fur sometimes has.
It's a smelly accessory, I suppose.
Yeah. It's an odd thing to make clothing out of. Would look striking for sure, but really? The stinkiest animal on the planet?
I don't support the killing of animals for furs. However...
This was a very, very different time.
Sure. However, as a pelt, I think it would be like very attractive looking, you know, because it's like the white and the black. So like aesthetically, I think they have a very aesthetically pleasing pelt.
It's a very Cruella de Vil look, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
But at night, I used to take it from my wardrobe and lay it on a chair in the drawing room, which was next to my bedroom. What, to like air it out because it's a stinky skunk pelt?
Just realizing how many animal skins I own.
No, okay.
I feel like I'm probably the biggest hypocrite in the world just for saying that. The amount of leather jackets I've owned.
You're wearing an alligator skin hat right now.
I've literally got leather shoes behind me. Anyway.
The first time that I did this, on going to the drawing room, I found, to my surprise, my muff in one corner and my stole in another. Do we need to describe what a muff and a stole are?
Stole's like an umbrella, right? Like an umbrella, but the one that shades you from the sun.
You're thinking parasol.
I am thinking of parasol.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stole,
what's a stole and a muffet?
Stole is, think of a fancy old woman. She's wearing a fox around her neck. Mm-hmm. that's a stole.
Oh.
Just sort of like shoulder coverage.
Well, I thought that's what we were talking about when we were talking about the skink, to be honest.
The skunk?
Skunk.
Yes. Yeah, so this is a set of skunk furs that's been fashioned into a stole and a muff. Muff being...
Skunky stoles.
Yep. Stinky, skunky skull.
Skunky stoles.
Stinky... It's another one of them vocal warm-ups, huh?
Totally. Stinky skull.
Yeah. Stinky, skunky stoles.
Stinky, skunky skull. Stinky, skunky stoles. Stinky, stunky skulls. Stinky, stunky skull.
I think one of those was correct.
That is a hell of a tongue twister.
Yeah. And a muff, on the other hand, is, think Russian aristocracy, where they like a big fuzzy hat, big overcoat, and their hands are in a little cylinder, like a woolen cylinder. That's a muff.
Oh, right. Yeah, I used to have one of those hats, actually. I got a rabbit fur hat from Moscow once, actually.
Huh?
Yeah, and that would be an extension of that hypocrisy that I was talking about just before.
Now, I think we need to say that this is a long time ago, yes?
Yeah, a long time ago. I had it for a long time, but the actual hair after, I think it was maybe after a decade or something.
It started going a bit wrong.
Well, it just started falling out.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened. It just kind of, disintegrated on me.
Fair enough. I think if you don't spend an awful lot of money on it, then it's probably not going to last forever. When it's an animal product like that. Not for one moment suspecting a supernatural agent, I asked my servant about it, and she assured me that she had not been in the room that morning. Okay, so yes, this is a rich person with servants still. Has she just forgotten about the old one that she's employed?
It kind of touches on what we were talking about before as well. In the previous story, we were talking about a ghost that inhabited another house. And it was talking about whether or not that could be a family member that was shunned by the family.
Oh, yeah, last episode with Corny.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We think it's just a random uncle that they're trying to ignore.
I remember thinking during that episode that it must be a big house. And that's the thing that I'm thinking about with this. I feel like it would be easier to be a, air quotes, ghost in a
very
huge,
rich house.
Yeah, a huge house, nooks and crannies to hide in.
Yeah.
Less hard in a one-bedroom apartment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Less easy, I should have said. That's fine. You got it.
Yeah, we got it. Whereupon I determined to test the matter, which I did by putting in the furs late at night and taking care that I was the first to enter the room in the morning. I invariably found that they had been disturbed.
Ooh. Move slightly to the left.
In different corners of the room. Now, that is the end of that one there.
Am I sure I put them there?
Yeah, I think she's just forgotten about an old servant that might be losing her mind.
Yeah.
But if you're rich to the point where you have servants and you have matching animal clothing, I think you've become a little out of touch with...
What was this book called again, Callum?
True Irish Ghost Stories.
And in this book, they are stories that were sent in.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the funny thing about this as well is that the people that were sending in this, he must have received a huge amount of stories. So
yes,
I'm guessing that whatever we actually listen to, whatever you're reading out, is going to be the creme de la creme of the crazy ghost stories that have been sent in, right?
Yeah, so I think that they've got rid of any that are just nonsense or useless or frankly boring and tried to include ones that are interesting and emblematic of the other stories that are coming in. It'd
be interesting to see whether or not these stories will be always with visible ghosts, because we were reading stories in the initial stages of the podcast.
Yes, the Haunted Inns book has not a lot of actual ghosts happening.
No.
And when they do, they're just glossed over.
Well, yeah, and it's normally hearing noises and feeling cold spots in a house, which we often think of when we think of ghosts, but these ones are more like, sup?
Yeah, there's a ghost in my room and he's messing with my furs.
Or just staring at me.
Yeah. Throwing fish at me.
It's like, Char, come on now.
Now, that was one of the longer stories of the book there. Would you like to do perhaps one more short one before we close out this fortnight's episode?
Define short, my
Like
God.
1 page.
Okay,
Yep.
one page. You get one page.
1 page. Hey Ollie, we're back with another story from True Irish Ghost Stories.
You didn't go anywhere. You were right there.
I was flicking through a book. True Irish Ghost Stories by John Seymour and Harry Neligan. Now again, these ones don't have names. Mm-hmm. I'm going to call this one Marsh's Library because that's how the story begins.
Right, so when you say that the ghosts don't have names, so you're just making up names for the ghosts every time?
Oh no, the stories don't have names.
Oh, the stories don't.
Yeah.
Right. They do give the ghost names. Of course they do, because they
Sometimes.
named
Well,
the
we had-
last ghost.
We had Corny, and then we had just like an old maid.
I don't know where I pulled this from. Of course, the ghosts have always had names.
And then they died.
Silly me. Anyway, so the stories don't have names, but the story you've dubbed
Marsh's Library, because that's where it happens.
Marsha.
Okay, no. Marsh.
Are you saying Marshes or?
Yes, so surname of a guy is Marsh, and it's his library.
Okay, Marsh's Library.
You are going to love the rest of this guy's name. Marsh's Library, that quaint old-world repository of ponderous tomes. I believe this is like an actual famous building in Dublin.
Ponderous tomes.
Ponderous Tomes is reputed to be haunted by the ghost of its founder, Primate Narcissus Marsh.
Oh, so it's an ancestor. Oh no. So was that because like the original owner is the haunter?
Primate is the name of the church position. That is the official title of the Archbishop of Armagh.
Is that not like missionary position?
No. No, it's a title. It's an honorific of basically the most important religious guy in Ireland at that time. Bracket disputed end bracket.
Sure.
Yeah, but their first name Narcissus, like named after the
God,
Greek
Narcissus.
myth.
Yeah,
of the guy who's in love with his own reflection.
Oh, I got it.
Oh.
We
bugger.
know that to be where the term narcissist comes from.
Yes. And apparently this guy ended up haunting his own house. So kind of lived up to his name. Died up to his name.
Died up to his name. I am not letting this go. So is a library a house, or is a library house? Or it was a house and now it's a library?
I think it's a library.
But was it a house?
I don't know.
Okay.
We might find out.
But
might
but he like founded the library.
He founded the library and now he haunts it.
Look, I would, you know.
If there's anywhere that you're gonna haunt, a library is a pretty cool one.
Yeah, especially for the time, right? Because here is another interesting thing about being a ghost. You get that time to read all those books.
Yeah, not like that Twilight Zone episode of a guy breaking his glasses after the apocalypse. It's like, no, it was time to read now.
Is that Twilight, or is it like a Simpsons cartoon version of it?
I'm not sure, to be perfectly honest.
Actually, it sounds like Futurama.
It sounds like a Matt Groening product, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
He is said to frequent the inner gallery, which contains what was formerly his own private library. He moves in and out among the cases, taking down books from the shelves and occasionally throwing them down on the reader's desk as if in anger.
My library, my books. Bugger off, you bastard.
Or just like, what are you reading that trash for? Here's something much better. Wham!
Oh, that's better. I like that, yeah.
I love how animated...
Have some class.
Yeah.
Read a friggin' encyclopedia.
Soft cover? Soft cover!
Books these days, I tell you.
Yeah. However, he always leaves things in perfect order.
I like him.
Yeah.
So far, I'm pretty endeared to this character. He's putting things back in order. He's like giving reading suggestions.
Yeah. He's reminding me very much of the opening of Ghostbusters.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Right? Is the opening the first bus they ghost?
Do you know they're making another Ghostbusters?
Yeah.
Yeah, every time they make
They've made it. It's coming out soon, and I'm just disappointed.
Well, it's funny because every time they make a new Ghostbusters movie, there's like a part of me that thinks it's the last. And have you ever,
It should be. The first one should have been the last.
I tell you, if there's one thing I actually genuinely enjoy about Ghostbusters movies is that they don't end with like an opening to more content. Like every movie they make, you get this really like ending feeling, like the end. Like, you know, that's a very encompassed story. So much so that it feels like you don't even need more, right? And then, boom, another movie.
They've brought the franchise back from the dead again.
But
the late Mr. Blank, again the name has been redacted to protect the innocent, who for some years lived in the librarian's room underneath, so I guess it is a library and a house.
Is that redacted by you or the book?
The book.
Okay.
Yes, as all of the stories came in to John Seymour, he went through and just removed anyone's name who was like, you know what, we don't need to actually name this person.
We will call him Mr. Black.
Blank.
No, but could we call him Mr. Black?
Oh, could we? We sure could.
Just for the story.
He's not going to come back, but yeah.
Okay. Oh, just ignore me then.
That's fine. Mr. Black was a firm believer in this ghost, and he frequently heard noises which could only be accounted for by the presence of a nocturnal visitor. I'm not going to argue with him, but that doesn't necessarily mean ghost.
My first thought was possum.
Yes. Yes. Second thought, thief. Third thought, really avid reader. Or they've got an overdue book they're trying to return in like a farce after hours so they don't get a fee.
Fourth thought, person of the night. I know it used to be lady of the night, but I wanted to make it more inclusive.
Okay. No, I got you. Yeah. Fifth thought, yeah, that's allowed to be ghost. The present tenant is more sceptical. The story goes that Marsh's niece eloped from the palace and was married in a tavern to the curate of Chapelizod. Now, Chapelizod is a place, and a curate is basically like a vicar or a priest. Mm-hmm. Again, it's just a position within the church. She is reported to have written a note consenting to the elopement and to have placed it in one of her uncle's books to which her lover had access and where he found it. As a punishment for his lack of vigilance, the archbishop is said to be condemned to hunt for the note until he finds it. Hence, the ghost.
Oh, is this narcissist looking for the note?
Yes.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, that's sad.
Yeah, he missed the fact that the note about them getting married was hidden in a book.
No, I got it.
Whether or not they actually got married or not, I can't tell. But because of his transgression of not being a perfect librarian, he now has to haunt the place.
That's a really sad story.
Yeah. Ireland has some friggin' good ghost stories, man. I'm loving this.
She never knew that he didn't get the note and he died. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm not sure about. I guess so. Otherwise, how would we know there was a note?
I mean, retrospectively, you think that if she didn't hear from him for a while, she would probably like chase it up, you know? Like, it's like not just be all like, all right, he didn't get the note. He didn't like meet me at this place. I'm out. Screw it. Like, you had one chance. You had one chance. You had to find the note, and otherwise, no, we're done.
Yeah, it's not like it was like an RSVP to the wedding or anything. Like they were eloping. The point is to not have a visitor or anyone there. So
she eloped, and then she got to the place. He wasn't there, and then she met somebody else, and they got married.
Oh no, she wasn't going to get married to the guy who is a ghost.
No, I got it.
Yeah, okay, cool. Because that's her uncle, and that's a bit wrong.
Oh, no, I think I did get it wrong, because I thought that was the story of the ghost. But no, this is another story of another ghost? Okay. I'm confused.
Okay.
I'm confused.
There is a guy who owns a library.
Got it.
Yep. He has a niece.
Yep.
And his niece is getting married.
Yep.
Now, the niece and her fiancé eloped rather than have a big wedding.
Okay, so they're off. They're out.
Yep.
Yeah.
But she left a note for her uncle in a book saying like, hey, don't worry, I've gone to elope and I'm okay with all this.
Yeah.
But the uncle didn't find the note.
Okay.
And then I guess died, and because he never found the note telling him that his niece was okay with getting married, he's doomed to haunt a library forever.
Right.
Falls apart a bit.
That's less sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like...
More confusing.
Yeah, but the couple got away to go elope, so they perceivably could have had a happy life.
I assume so.
Or,
yes.
I mean, considering the time, everyone was unhappy. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it was, yeah. If it was Ireland in the
Yeah, like medical care back then. I don't even want to talk about it.
late 1800s, not even just medical care. Everything was a bit fucked. So let's hope those two had a long, happy life, and the guy who loved his books had a long, happy death looking after them.
Is that the story?
That is the story. That's the end of that one.
I quite like that story. I genuinely thought it was a fun story. And not that we usually give like ratings. I'm not sure if we ever really like do the review at the end. But
No, but we can certainly do that.
well, it sounds like a lot of effort. but I felt like at least with this story, I did want to say that like I genuinely enjoyed that.
It was short, a little confusing, but at the end, I'll call it 4 out of 5 overdue books.
Loved it. I think it was like an interesting character, and he has a really kind of like interesting way of haunting. It wasn't so overbearing.
A little bit overbearing.
Well,
Get that shitty book out of here. Read this.
Yeah. But it's not like throwing fish
He's
out
not
the
throwing
window.
fish at
out the
people.
window. So it's ups and downs.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm just imagining more of like a grumpy old like librarian ghost that appreciates good organization and reading choices, and like I respect that.
Yep.
I also like good organization.
It's a man who knows how to do his job, I guess.
I mean, that's what you want.
Even if his job wasn't, in fact, librarian and he should have been overseeing the church. But yeah, whatever.
Anyway,
I think we'll check out some more of these stories next time, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm enjoying these.
yeah, no, great times, great choices. Love the stories.
I will have to spend a bit of time going through this to look up some words that I'm not familiar with because they're from a different country, a different time, a different era.
Or maybe we're putting some mysteries out there for the listeners to solve, huh?
Yeah. If you are Irish or you just know more about history than we do and want to correct us on any of the nonsense we've thrown out there.
Or even if you want to insult us.
or praise us. That would be nice. Leave a review.
I was kidding. Don't do that. Don't. Do praise us. Praise us.
Or just flick us an email. Links in the description. And we look forward to speaking to you again next time.
Just before we go, I thought I just wanted to throw in a last little quick joke because I just thought it was kind of funny.
Uh-oh.
When I was in uni, I used to have voicemail messages. You remember voicemail messages?
Yeah, they're still around here.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I think mine's just a robot now. But I can't remember the last time I left a voicemail. But I used to have a voicemail message, and it was... You've reached the Church of Olly. Leave your praises at the beep.
Oh, God.
I know, it was lame. I just thought it was funny. All right, sorry. That's all. All right, so we were finishing up before I rudely interrupted.
Yep. If you've got a really good voicemail message still these days, keep it to your damn self, and we'll see you next time on Second Hand Haunting.